Okay guys, so today I'm going to talk about the top 5 questions. Sometimes there is 4, sometimes there is 6, sometimes there is 7, sometimes there is 53 questions to try to figure out what you're looking for. But these are the top 5 questions that we ask when people call for different things involving needing a locksmith. So without further ado, here we go. Like, oh my God, I'm locked out of my car, I need help. What year, make, and model is your vehicle? We ask that, obviously, because some vehicles are much more difficult than others. Not that that really affects price, except on the higher ends when there are specialty methods involved with getting in them. But you always need to know what your year, make, and model of the vehicle is going to be. First question. What year is your Cadillac? What kind of Cadillac? This is always the second, third, and fourth, possibly fourth question. When you ask that first question, what's the year, make, and model? They will tell you it's a 2011. Okay, what kind of car is it? It's a Chevy. Pulling teeth, what type of Chevy? Malibu. Okay, I also forgot to mention color. It helps to get color at some point in the conversation, especially if it's in a parking lot, so you know what color car to look for. So the second question is always going to be either what year is it, what make is it, what model is it. Please be a little bit more specific. Are the keys in the vehicle and where are they located? You ask this because sometimes somebody will call you out needing to get in their car. Well, they fail to inform you when they call that, oh, well, I needed to get in my car because I need a key made. And you just told me it was X amount of dollars and that was to make a key. And you have to carefully explain that you did not get told there were no keys. So, third question, where are the keys? Are they in the vehicle? And where in the vehicle are they? Some vehicles, if they're in the trunk and you're not told that, you have to, like on an older Cadillac for instance, you have to bypass the trunk. That's going to cost more. Some of them, the alarm disables the vehicle, so you have to take special precautions when you're unlocking the vehicle. And you also want to verify the keys are in the vehicle somewhere. So, third question, where are the keys in the vehicle? 4, do you have your driver's license, title, and or insurance card? This is to prove that this is their vehicle. There are people out there that will gladly pay a small amount of money to get somebody to come unlock a car because they have crap left in it and it ends up being their friend's car, and technically you just help them break into their car. Driver's license, title. If they don't have a title, they should have an insurance card. Most states require insurance. I think all states require car insurance. On the car insurance, it should say what type of vehicle it is. If they do not have their driver's license, if they do not have proof of ownership, if they do not have an insurance card, they don't need to be driving the car. Pass on that call. 5, and this is optional depending on basically how much of a chance you want to take. What's your credit card number so that we can hold the call? We're not dispatching this call until you give us a credit card. If we get to that location and you're not there, we charge your credit card. This is optional. A lot of people don't do this when they're starting out, but we don't foot race other locksmiths. You don't know if they've called 15 other people hoping that the first person to get there will be the one and don't care about all these other ones. So you could drive 15 miles, waste your gas, your time, and possibly interrupt something else that you were doing for a complete waste of time. If you decide to do this, you reserve the credit card just like a hotel would making reservations, and you explain to them if they are not there when you get there, you will still be charged for the full price for the service charge to come out. Even though you did not provide a service, there is a trip charge. There's some people call it service, some people call it trip. If you call it service charge and they say, well, you didn't provide a service, then it's a trip charge. It's a trip charge to come out no matter what. So that is optional, but we've been doing this for a long time. Unless it's somebody within our immediate area, or there's a fly in here, or somebody that you know or you feel trustworthy enough to not get the credit card number, by all means. If it's more than like 5 miles away from us and we don't know who it is and they just call it out of the blue, we require them to have a credit card number until we get to the call. 5 questions. I locked my keys in my car. Oh my God, I'm locked out of my house. Can you come help me? The next locksmith scenario phone call. Question number 1, does your driver's license match the address on the house? If it does not, do you have any other paperwork showing your name with that address as well as your driver's license? If you just moved there and you hadn't changed your driver's license, it's completely understandable. But if you do not have any type of paperwork like a power bill or a light bill, title to the house, anything like that, where we can verifiably verify the verification process of verifying that you are supposed to get into that house, we're not going to come out. There are often cases where pet sitters, people are out of town, have a pet sitter, the pet sitter accidentally locks the door. We make them contact the owner of the house, who then email us verification that this person is allowed in the house. Sometimes it's easy to figure out, sometimes it's not, but and some people say, well, I have all that, but it's in the house. Okay, that's well and fine, but explain to them that you will require it after you open the door. You can tell by the actions of somebody if it's their house. If there's dogs in the house and the dogs are happy to see them or are okay, probably their house. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Next question. Question number 2. Did you lock, is the doorknob locked? When you walked out the door and pulled it shut, was that the lock that locked? If they say yes, that is a common lockout. If they say it's the deadbolt, obviously there's no way to unlock the deadbolt accidentally by leaving your keys in the house. You would have to lock the deadbolt and then lose your keys or misplace them. So if it is a deadbolt lockout, that sets off a red flag, and that red flag requires more verification and more explanation onto how and why and how this happened. How did they lock themselves out of the deadbolt? And that was definitely a question that you need to ask. Question 3. Are the keys inside the house, and where are they located in the house? When I get in the house, can you go right to the keys to get them for me? This also verifies that this is most likely the person that was in the house, and it is a true lockout situation. So, question number 3, I think, where are the keys in the house? Plus, after you get the door open, you want to take those keys and check them as well to make sure that the key still works fine in the lock after what you did, because if you do not and you leave and something's wrong, you're going to have to turn around and come back. Waste of time. So that was question 3. Question 4. Have you done anything to the lock? Have you tried getting in yourself? Have you tried messing with the lock in any way? Obviously, that's to find out whether or not they may have messed with the lock. We have frequently been called out to get into a house, and come to find out they had used a screwdriver to pry it apart or any other number of things. So your 4th question should be, in no particular order, the 4th question should be, have you done anything to try to get in? Have you hit it or messed with it or done anything to the lock trying to get in? So you were prepared when you get there. And question 5, have you called anybody else? This kind of goes right along with the car lockout. Normally we do not require a credit card hold on house lockouts because vehicle lockouts, they could disappear or be anywhere. If you have the address to a house, you have more information to go on to file a police report for theft of services, anything that is necessary if you take it that far. So you will want to ask, and most of the time people are honest. They may say I've called one other person, but they said they couldn't get there. That's okay, but you want to kind of feel out by asking if they have called anybody else. So those are the 5 questions if somebody is locked out of their house. Hey, I need to get my locks changed. First question, do all the locks physically work okay and you just need new keys, or are you having problems with one of your locks? Most of the time people will say they need their locks changed, thinking that the locks, not knowing that the locks can be re-keyed to a different key. So when somebody calls asking for a lock change, it could actually be they want to replace hardware, or it could just be they need to change the key. So the first question always needs to be, do you just need different keys, or are you having problems, with locks? Are they old? Are you wanting to replace them? Because we can re-key them to a different key if they're in good condition. Question 2, assuming it's just a re-key, how many doors are on the house? This simple question can actually not be so simple because some houses have 2 doors, like a bar door and a wood door, or a burglar bar type door. Or some people think that double French doors are actually 2 doors when it's only 1. But if you get them to give you the number of doors on the house, you can block off your time. After you've been doing it long enough and you have figured out 2 doors takes me 30 minutes, 3 doors takes me 45 minutes, that allows you to book your day. So if you schedule an appointment from say 9 to 10, we do a block of time. We used to do 2-hour blocks when we ran emergency service calls for AAA and stuff. We narrowed it down to an hour because we can kind of plan out our day right. But by asking how many doors they have, that gives you a general idea of the bracket of time that you need to get on site, get it done, get paid, and then get from one to the other. So we use that for bracketing. Pretty important question because a 2-door house is a lot different than a 10-door house as far as time re-keying. So by asking that second question, you get an idea of how long you're going to be on the job. Question number 3, and this one can get complicated too. Could you read us any letters or numbers that are on your key? So, tell them to go get their key and read you the letters or numbers on it. And you will come back with access or 42. Basically what you're doing is finding out the keyway. And by finding out the keyway, you have an idea of what kind of locks you're going to be dealing with because you've already asked how many doors. So by asking them to read you the letters or numbers on the key, that will give you information as far as to know what type of locks you're dealing with. Some locks take longer than others, so that also helps with the bracketing of your time. Read me the letters and numbers on your key. Question 4, do the keys that you have fit all your doors already? Pretty simple yes or no question. If they say no, ask if they can take one key and fit into another lock and physically insert it. We tell them, can you physically insert the key in the lock? It may not turn, but will it go into the lock? Sometimes it won't go into the lock because of corrosion, because it's not used, but that also tells you if they do have multiple keys with the door counts. You can then ask how many doors use this key, how many doors use that other key. So we always ask if the one key fits all doors, so we know what we're facing there. Last question for the re-key, question number 5. How many new keys do you need? This makes it easier for you. If you've got this job scheduled tomorrow and they have told you how many doors, what kind of key to use, you can prepare by asking how many keys will you need when we're done. If they say 5, in your spare time prior to the appointment, go ahead and make 5 keys to be ready to rekey their locks. That way you're not spending time on site copying keys. So, last question, you could ask more, but last of these 5 questions is how many new keys you're going to need. Hey, my block, it's just broken. It just broke. Oh my gosh, can you help me? First question for a broken lock call. Are you locked out of it? Or can you get in any other door? Are you locked out of the house because your lock is broken? Because obviously if they are, you are in an emergency situation and have to respond as quick as you can. If, along with that question, if they're not locked out, just ask if they can secure the door. If you're not able to get there today, ask if the door can be secured, which also puts it in the emergency bracket. If they're not able to secure the door, then you kind of have to set it up as an emergency and go when needed. If they're able to secure the door, you can future schedule it. First question. Second lock broken question. Is it the doorknob or is it the deadbolt? Which one's broken, your knob or your deadbolt? If they tell you it's the knob, you know, knobs are knobs. If they tell you it's a deadbolt, the other part of question 2 would be, is it a single cylinder or double cylinder deadbolt? Does it use the thumb turn on the inside or does it have a key on both sides? And as an addition to that question, depending on what they answer, ask which they would prefer, whether it to be single or double. Before some of you guys say something about fire codes, that's understood. Private residences here, after they've passed their building inspection, are totally free to put whatever they want on their doors. Some people want double cylinder deadbolts, therefore they are still allowed to be installed and sold. So, if there's glass around the door, we recommend double cylinder deadbolts. Of course, when we're on site, if we notice the house is kind of a trap, we verify with the person they understand to leave keys by the door close by, not hanging in the lock, but close by so they're able to quickly get out of the door. So, second question. Question 3. Does the lock work when you have the door open? Sometimes the lock is not broken, especially down here in the south. We have a soil called Yazoo clay that expands and contracts, jumps all around, makes houses do this back and forth. So if you ask them to open the door and try it, if it's a deadbolt, they say their deadbolt's broken. It may actually just not be latching because it has shifted. So in that case, obviously, they do not need a new lock. They need a frame or a strike adjustment to make the deadbolt lock. So question 3, open the door, check the lock, ask if it comes out and works okay. That way you have an idea whether or not it can be repaired or not. Question 4, what finish? What finish is your lock? What color? I don't say what finish to people. We say what color is it, because some people are like, finish? What color is your lock? And they will often, okay, so that's kind of a wild question, a wild card question. You can offer them colors. It's sometimes easier to do that. So you say, what color is your lock? Is it a shiny brass color? Yes, no. Is it a old brass color? Yes, no. Well, look at the inside. Is the inside shiny brass? Typically on houses from like the 80s or whatever, it's actually bright brass hardware that's darkened with age. So if they're thinking it's dark because of the outside, and in reality it's the interior is brass, they have to understand that they can either go back with antique brass color or bright brass color. And typically, sometimes people want to do both the knob and the deadbolt at the same time, so the finish is not mismatched. What color is the hardware? You will often, if it's like a Venetian bronze or a dark bronze, and you say, these are the two, dark bronze and antique brass. To people, they're interchangeable. If they say it's a dark bronze color, it could be antique brass, it could be dark bronze. If they say it's a dark brown color, it could be antique brass, it could be dark bronze. These questions, unless you carry a truck full of inventory and different brands of locks, these questions are pretty important because it sucks to drive somewhere and not have the exact lock they need. We carry an assortment of pretty much all that we can in the most common things in our area. But there's so many colors. There's shiny brass, antique brass, Venetian bronze, satin nickel, antique pewter, flat black. There's a lot of different colors. So you try to isolate that. If they say shiny brass right off, hey, easy. If they say dark brown, I always ask them, is it a smooth, like an almost black dark brown, or is it like a light brown with gold flecks running through it, which would be the antique brass color. Y'all all know what antique brass is, but I don't have my color chart. Here we go. So, as we see, antique brass, dark bronze. People mix these up left and right. They just say dark brown, so you don't know which one it is. So it's a good idea to try to ask them, as we see in this, you know, brown with kind of a gold flecks through it. Dark brown, Venetian bronze, which is pretty common nowadays. And also, they would have given you their address, and you can maybe tell, if you're familiar with your area, you can tell when houses were built. Typically, some neighborhoods had a lot of the same color in them. Most popular now for newer houses is Venetian bronze and satin nickel. So that was question 4. And the last question for that is, could you read us the letters and numbers on your key, just like as in rekeying? That tells you what kind of lock you need to bring. By now you've asked whether it's the door lock or the deadbolt. You've asked all the important questions on color. Then you need to figure out what brand it is. You can either have them look at the edge of the door to see if the name brand's on it, but beware of that. If they don't read the key, because some of the older Wiser deadbolts had Schlage cores, so while the latch will say Wiser, it's actually a Schlage key. So when you get there with your new Wiser lock to put on, and it's a Schlage key, you're kind of in a pickle. So always try to get the letters or numbers on the key and or the latch. If you want to make them do both, that's fine. But that is the 5 questions if you have a broken lock on your house. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. So on top of the 5 questions for every scenario, well, the top 4 scenarios that somebody would call a locksmith, I didn't include these because you always need the address and the name and the phone number and all that. So in reality, it could be like 5 to 10 questions, but those 5 questions for each category are pretty much what we use day to day with phone calls as far as people calling for those various things. Your mileage may vary. You may not do that. You may not hold credit cards. This isn't a strict, you have to do this. This is something that over time I've learned to try to get as much information as you can when the person's calling, so that when you get to that property, you can be as prepared as possible to do whatever you need to do, and there's full understanding of price before you go out with the customer, and that's it. If y'all have any comments or questions, or any questions that you personally yourselves ask customers, always shoot them in the comments. And thanks for watching again. Peace. Have a good one.